Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Royal Sussex Live. Welcome, one and all. Okay, let me see. Oh, wow. What a nice start. Crotching chicken, hidden egg. Thank you so much for that. That's a wonderful start. I'm glad I started on time. But yes, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. And thank you for supporting Royal Sussex. All right. So let me see here. I'm gonna go all the way to the top and see who was here first. Uh, Judy Mutasik, Karen Beckford, Lorna Williams, and Mashari Green. All right. And John Jenkins. Very good. Mary H. Beverly Jackson. And a host of friends and others. Okay. Let me see. It's gonna go. All right. There we go. Last one in. Lydia Washington. Very cool. All right. So let me get my slides going here and we can get started. Um, just so you know, we're still going to talk about it because it ain't going away. And I'm looking forward to putting it behind me or behind us. And but until such time, for I guess about half of today, we'll be talking about it. Um, uh, Noticeably absent today, I didn't see anything from Omid Scobie. I don't. I think he took a day off from interviews, which is good. He probably needs that because he was being attacked left, front, and center. So he needs that time. Um, Let me see if he tweeted anything today. Didn't see any tweets from him either. Okay, Omid tweets. Huh. Oh, nope, nothing. Let's see here. Yeah. Oh, wow. He hasn't tweeted anything since the 29th of November. That's scary. Well, I mean, I know he's been busy though. No, I take it back. December 1st. Yeah. The 29th, 30th, and December 1st. Those were his last tweets that I can see here. Okay. Um, no worries then. And with that, let us get started. I do believe slides are up. There they go. And of course, do you know that someone verbally chastised me? I think it was last week. They are laboring under this assumption that I find the most unattractive photos of Kitty. And I'm just like, how dare you? How dare you? As if I think that the photos that I have found to represent all members of the royal family are above board, top drawer, with with the greatest of consideration to make sure that they are depicted as realistic and flattering as possible. You feel me? You picking up what I'm putting down? I thought I did an exemplary job of finding the or selecting the best possible photos to make sure that they are seen in an honest, glaring light of day, which better depicts them than probably anybody else could. So I think I have been an honest broker. As a matter of fact, I honestly find stuff that is going to make them look as realistic and humane as possible. Sure enough. Wow. I just caught a glimpse of Angela Bassett wearing this this red gown with Courtney B. Vance, her long-term partner slash husband. I think they're married, right? Well, she looks good. I wonder if that was for the Kennedy Center. No, it says Academy Gala. Oh, well, the awards is in March, right? So is there any wonder? Oh, wow. Yeah. And it continues. All right. So let me get on with it then. Enough small talk. It was something else I was trying to do here. What was it before I got distracted? Got that. Oh, I know this. Okay. Hashtag. Oh, the big hashtag that they got right now, what's trending is Kate Middleton is a racist. Yeah, that seems to be the big hashtag right now. Um, that has been trending for the past, I think 48 hours. So Kate is really, really getting the heat. And of course, because she's the English Rose, everybody is coming to her defense. I mean, to tell you, it's like one of those old safari movies where everybody is trying to save Jane. Jane, somebody save Jane from the savages. It's one of those types of things where anybody and everybody are they're literally willing to impale themselves if they thought they can save Kate. And that is exactly what is happening. It is pitiful to watch, um, but not surprising. Not surprising at all. And it's been that way. It's been that way. There's been more value on the assumed, or which of course we've never seen Kate cry. Not that that's important, but there's more value placed upon risking her being upset or risking her happiness or emotions compared to anyone else, especially the um, the Black American. Yeah, more so than anybody else. They have to protect her, and it's been that way. And as Meghan said, is it's not that I thought it would be easy, but at the very least, I thought it would be fair. And being able to move to another country, which people do all the time, you relocate, you start a family. People do that all the time. But because it's the royal family and because Meghan is considered African American or biracial or whatever you want to call it, because she's not white and because she's not from the higher level of the aristocracy, or any aristocracy for that matter, then there must be something nefarious going on. Um, you know, one would assume that the fact that you've worked hard and you have a good education, that would insulate you from some of those attacks, but it does not. It does not. When it comes down to it, the one thing that they cannot unsee, and that is race. And of course, is being turned around and used against the people of color that speak out about it. The fact that there's this round the clock debate that is still going on about whether or not it's okay to ask about skin tone. Um, well, I uncovered a little something that I'd forgotten about, and I'll share it with you very soon. Uh, Thanks to Alex Beresford, who gave his testimony. It was almost like he was in church or like he was in a therapy group. He gave his testimony, and I don't know how I forgot about it, except there's been so many things that have happened since then that it would be kind of hard to keep up with everything. But very interesting his take on it. So, gonna share that with you very soon. Okay. Ah, very good. You guys, very soon we'll be at 47,000 subscribers. You know that? Very soon we will be at probably by the end of next week, I'm sure. Um, we'll be, oh, maybe even by Wednesday. Maybe even by Wednesday. 47, it's like 46,649. And new subscribers have been coming in slowly but surely. There's been like a steady pace of new subscribers. And one of the things that helps are the shorts. The YouTube wants the content creators to really push the shorts. What is it about that sounds so weird? Push shorts, push the shorts. They really want me to push my shorts. Huh, I don't know. But they want us to push the shorts. What am I, 12? Right. Um, oh, man. Anyway, so you all have seen my shorts, right? I hope so. I've worked hard on those shorts. Oh. Anyway, I am not Mae West, and this is not She Done 'Em Wrong. So let's keep moving, shall we? There we go. So Pasternak. Anna Pasternak. Um, I This is the lady. This is the lady that wrote the article, Catherine the Great. She was. I would suppose she was recruited. I'm going to just guess she was recruited to write the article. They wanted something that would define uh, Catherine, Kate. And so they had Anna Pasternak, who I believe, let me see if I recall, Anna Pasternak, she is in the bloodline for the Romanov family. I think she's a descendant of Tsar Nicholas II. I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think I saw that somewhere. And I think her family is one of the families that fled from Russia during the revolution. Catherine the Great. But yeah, so Anna Pasternak, she was the one who wrote that article. Well, the article was deemed unflattering for Kate, and eventually they removed it. They for lack of a better word, they deleted it. They got rid of it because it portrayed the future queen consort as out of touch, dare I say, lazy. Um, it quoted her, right? The article quoted her, but when they got a chance to take another look at it, and let's see, Kate Middleton feels exhausted and trapped over enormous workload after Meghan Markle and Prince Harry effectively threw the Cambridge children under the bus by quitting as royals, sources tell Tatler. Remember, sources tell Tatler. So Tatler is the magazine, and I'm trying to see if I see her name there in that small type. But anyway, this is on a bigger slide that I had, and I just thought about it and went and found it. But yeah, this is on a much larger slide that I had. And as you can see, it includes on the right side the reality check by English achievement before royal marriage. And so those things in the column on the right, of course, list the many accomplishments of Rachel Meghan Markle compared to Kate, who graduated university with a master's degree in art history, also known as a vanity degree. It also says worked in family business, party pieces, as a part-time accessory buyer for a store called Jigsaw Junior. Jigsaw. That means she folded a few tops, and then as soon as William called, she hightailed it out of there. It was, in my opinion, sources claim, it's been reported, um, some people say that the job was to quiet the queen because Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth was trying to nudge her into finding work before they got married because the queen, I believe, wanted to know that she had a strong work ethic before she and William wed. Well, as we found out, not only was Kate lazy beyond belief, but William likewise. They both hid behind their children, claiming that they wanted to put as much time into the children as possible rather than take on the workload of the kingdom. Well, I'm not saying that it was best, but Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, they managed to deal with their family and take on the workload. And in terms of them being available for the children, we all must make sacrifices when we're members of the royal family. Isn't that what they say? You just hang in there, stay in there. It'll get easier. Everybody's had to do it. Isn't that the language they use? We've all had to go through it. So we've all had to go through it. Anyway, so in case you don't know the story, the Catherine the Great article was removed and dissected and then put back on the interweb. So you can't find the original magazine article unless you have the original magazine. You won't be able to read that article. That's how strongly they felt about it. They were angry at Anna Pasternak for telling the truth, and it was the truth as it was relayed to her by the palace. But somebody dropped the ball and said a little bit too much. And I guess they were trying to build sympathy for Kate, explaining why she's so tired and trying to make her look heroic because she has this larger workload. And I think, of course, as usual, it was an opportunity to sock it to the Sussexes by letting the world know that they abandoned their posts, their positions, and left all this extra work for Will and Kate. Now, at the time, the Queen was still working. You know, the Queen was still alive and working. So Philip, I don't remember the timetable from when he actually decided to retire from public duty, but he was 95 years old. But up until that point, he kept busy. But the English rose had to be pampered and cared for. People forget that there is a team of cooks, cleaners, and also the nannies. They have a team of people that do so much for them at their young ages that most of us have never experienced before. You understand what I'm saying? So many people. I almost cried because I stayed at a hotel and I come back and the room was clean. I didn't have to do it myself. That's how I'm living. That's how most people live. But for Kate, can you honestly say Kate has ever cleaned like average people would do? Has she ever cleaned an oven? Has she ever scrubbed the toilet? Has she done any of those things? I say not. I don't think so. Because at the end of the day, She grew up rich. William grew up rich. They don't have the same sensibilities about these things. And yet, they expect people to listen to them talking about the early years and the environment and all those things that is not putting food on the table or paying for people's heat. So, anyway, let me get away from that and let me get on to the reason why I started talking about Pasternak. Now, trigger warning, she starts off on a low note. I'll just tell you that. But when she picks it up, she picks it up. So give her a chance. She starts off on a low. Oh, sorry about that. That was my phone. Let's get on with it. Anna Pasternak. Okay, I see what I did here. Got to go over here and here. Uh-oh, not that one. Okay. That was almost a disaster. Okay.
That the previous episodes were rather self-indulgent, and a lot of it.
Okay. Oh, I see what it is. I don't have my speaker ready. Okay, here goes. Be prepared to adjust your sound.
Personally speaking, I have never been a tremendous fan of Meghan and Harry, and I thought that the previous episodes were rather self-indulgent and a lot of it was unnecessary. I found myself really staggered by the latest batch of episodes because it seemed to me that Harry is absolutely telling the truth. I think we've learned that there is a far greater level of manipulation from the royal household with the press. It is indeed a dirty game, and I happen to know that the royal households do brief against each other. So I think we've learned that, you know, it all is not what it seems necessarily when the House of Windsor presents a very, you know, above board front. And I think that a lot of what was said in the latest episodes is concerning and also deeply damaging to the monarchy. I also think that Harry was talking the exact truth when he said that, of course, what was problematic for him and Meghan was their star quality and their popularity post their fantastic Australia trip. And, you know, history has shown that if you're not in the direct line of succession and you steal too much oxygen, things don't end well.
Do you think anything will change as a result of any of those comments?
Sadly not. I think that they'll be brushed aside under the carpet, as Nicholas Witchell said. Personally speaking, I have never been a tremendous fan of.
Okay. So that was Anna Pasternak. And sadly, it is a repeat of things that we've heard again and again. And I believe she's right. It will just get swept under the carpet, never to be seen or heard from again, until the next time they need to dust it off and use it for clicks and engagement. When they had the bullying claims, it was very helpful to the institution from start to finish. Using the bullying claims, they were able to create a distraction from the Oprah interview. And that was going well until the interview happened or was broadcast. And then, of course, it became all about who asked about Archie's skin color. But the palace, I don't think the palace ever denied it. They pretty much recruited their talking heads to go out on the propaganda campaign of disputing everything that was said in the interview. And in particular, I do recall at the time when Piers Morgan said that it was unfair for them to mention racism and not give a name, which now leads me to believe that he already knew who said it. This was probably a big problem in the family before the interview. I don't think it was a matter of them being blindsided when the Oprah Winfrey show when the Oprah Winfrey interview was broadcast, it was probably already a thing. And as you read Endgame, you will realize that a lot of the information that is available, if it is in any way um, bad for the institution, if it will embarrass the institution, they are not going to speak of it, even though they know, just like everybody knows who the two people are that mentioned Archie's skin color. And that's the other thing that we should make sure that we don't lose sight of. Harry and Meghan never said racism. That was the press that ran with that. The press named it and claimed it as their own, and they used it to start this big global campaign and debate about, is it okay to mention the baby's skin color? And even though it's been, what, it'll be 2 years, 3 years next year since the Oprah interview? 3 years, right? Um, yeah, it'd be 3 years. Um, Even though it would have been 3 years in March, they are still able to monetize it for the various magazines and television shows and such. They are still able to monetize it. And just as before, they're using it as a distraction. That way, they don't have to talk about the other things that were mentioned in the Oprah interview. They don't have to talk about the other things that were mentioned in Endgame, at least for now. At least for now. I think someone has tried to break ranks, and I'll share that with you later. But for the most part, they don't have to talk about it. We can keep this debate going until everybody is exhausted, which seems to be the direction that they're going. Is it going to wear us down with that same issue of the baby skin color? The only good thing that has happened is that it has affected Kitty. William seems to have escaped untouched, but Catherine the Great, and of course, I have it on good authority that she is Catherine the Great. After all, that's what they called her in that magazine article, The Tattler. So Catherine the Great seems to be the only person to take a hit. I don't think it affects Charles as much. I really don't think it affects Charles as much. Although when Charles is out publicly, I won't be surprised if someone yells that to him, or I don't know if Republic would do that, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone says that to him the next time he's in public. Maybe not so much for Catherine, because people might still feel weird about confronting her like that publicly, but the die has been cast, as they say, and there's no going back. Um, it's not as worse as being branded like Andrew, the sick old man, for his issues, but it is still pretty bad. It would carry more weight in the U.S. Than it carries over there. Um, but yeah, it's been done. So I would say that is at least a small gain, that the unblemished record of Catherine the Great seems to have a bit of a smear on it now. Um, and I'm glad for it, because she's been getting away with the most for so long. Francilia Mosley says, Baron, the U.S. and other newspapers, Us Weekly and other newspapers are really looking at the content of the book besides racial issues. Yeah, that's why I said it seems like they're starting to break rank. Um, and I also have an article that I'll show you that seems to confirm that. So let's hope less of Archie's skin color and more of the content of the book, especially where William is concerned. William took a hit with the doggy dish, right? He took a hit with the doggy dish. But there is still more to be done. William took a small hit when he took that money, or when we found out he took that money from the tabloid, but they don't trend with it. The only thing that they're trending with in the most obvious spaces, which means the social media, that of course is Archie's skin color. That is going to be universally reported all over the place. But the other thing, the rest of the content of the book, that is slow to warm. So I believe that as a trade off, they're going to throw Catherine under the bus and try to pretend like the thing with the selling out Harry, which of course has been addressed before. I think they're going to try to downplay that and use Catherine as a necessary sacrifice so that nobody talks about that. And also, um, it looks like Catherine may have to take a lot of the heat for the sake of Charles. Antoinette Kennedy says, Baron, it was asked of Charles when he was on tour, when they asked Willie as well. Willie said, we are not, yes, we are very not a racist family. Charles ignored the question and walked out the door. Remember, I don't remember that exact time that happened. Was that recently, or was that when the Oprah interview came out? I only remember when someone asked him if he would contact Harry, or has he spoken to Harry. That's the only thing that I recall where something uncomfortable was said directly to him. That, and of course, Charles, why do we have to pay for your parades? You remember that? That was when he went to Cardiff. Black Queen says, this is comical to me that people are debating who is the real racist. Asked about a baby skin color. This is 1,000-year racist institution. They all said it. No debate, in my opinion. Yeah, it was something that was murmured, I think, within the family. And I'm going to say that the top four, Will, Kate, Camilla, and Charles, they're the new Fab Four, right? Probably, but who knows how. Well, okay, let's just assume that includes the Wessexes, now the Edinburghs, because at least when it comes to Ford Fiesta, because she is visible with the rest of the family far more often than her husband's. He seems to do off on his own thing. At least when it comes to anything, he's always more invisible. She seems to take center stage more often. And I believe when she's been doing all this traveling to other countries, she doesn't usually travel with him. She travels alone. So that's why I say she's probably been a little bit more visible. So one would assume that if at all possible, that they needed a sounding board or needed to seek someone else's counsel, I would bet that she was part of it. But I couldn't say for sure. So, but it seems like she inserts herself in situations to try to look as worthy and as important with that family, for a variety of reasons. Even though she now has her Duchess title, she still does a bit of a pantomime to make sure that she is seen and in the papers and such. Thank you so much, Black Queen. Hey, Rohini. Angelina Stanley. I'm scrolling back the other way here, by the way. Beverly McCaskill says, I think that they all knew and that it was the bully claim. They thought that they would mention that with Oprah. I want Oprah to put out the other hour and a half of footage that she is holding. Beverly, that would be so cool. And the interview was edited. There were commercial breaks. The interview was edited. But because the press, the tabloid media, the British tabloid media in particular, because they are able to define it as the 17 lies and inconsistencies, um, they're not fussing about that. They don't admit that the interview um, could have possibly taken on a different tone because it was edited. They edited the interview. They mentioned that there was extra footage that is not available right now, but I believe they were together for like 4 hours. So 3.5, 4 hours, something like that. And so yes, there is additional footage that is available. And right now it's in Oprah's vault or wherever she's keeping it. And on one of her hard drives or servers somewhere. I would like to see it. I think it would be really cool if the interview was played without any editing whatsoever. Because when I say editing, I'm not just talking about the pace of it, but the reactions that you see where they cut away to another angle. You don't see the other person's reaction when that happens. You're not looking at both individuals' reaction, which is curious why there's so many people that call themselves body language experts that seems to know everything when if you were being honest with people, you have to say, well, okay, this has been edited. But yeah, I'd like to see it. I like to see it. I would love to have seen it like from front to back without any, thing removed. But it would be interesting to see it. I agree with you. I would like to see it. You said, remember that Prince Harry said he was surprised by who said it. That is why I still think it was William and then Kitty and Charles. Well, I've always gone with the William because I thought William would have wanted to shock and upset him as much as possible for marrying someone like Meghan and so on. So I would have thought that. Okay, got another soundbite. This is very short, but I think it is helpful because as time goes by, people's memory, kind of lapse a bit, and it's always better to go back and just hear it as it was said. So even though we don't have access to Oprah, at least I don't, I'll do this one, and then you can. Let's see, is it here? No. Okay, I know where it is. Yeah, I'll do this one, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
Mixed race couples around the world.
Oh, is that not on? Oh, there it is.
Mixed race couples around the world that the white side of the family would wonder whether talking openly about it or amongst themselves what the kids are going to look like. The key word here was concern, as opposed to curiosity. Mixed race couples around the world that the white side of the family would wonder whether talking openly about it or amongst themselves what the kids are going to look like. The key word here was concern, as opposed to curiosity.
Okay. Concern as opposed to curiosity. The key word here is concern as opposed to curiosity. Now, please stay with me because it really is a bridge right over to Alex Beresford. I forgot about this part of it, but Alex Beresford spoke about his own experience of having a mixed race child, he himself being mixed race, and how jarring it was to hear someone speculate, question, ponder about the baby's skin color.
way to explain, not to you, but to so many people, on why what is being said is so wrong.
Right.
I've walked
Let's get into.
I've walked into institutions as the only person of color and experienced covert and overt racism on so many occasions. And why the Meghan interview really resonates with me is because an ex-work colleague, not of this show, asked me if I was worried about the shade of cocoa that my son was going to come out.
Right.
So I fully understand the hurt that is behind all of that.
Right. Let me ask.
And when you're mixed race, what you find in my personal experience, and there may be other people that may come forward and say this, is that when you are a lighter shade of black, people gain confidence and feel that they can say things to you that they wouldn't say to a black person. What we're getting from the interview is that it was said in a negative way.
He said that, but he didn't, did he?
Listen, stop separating Harry and Meghan. They are a team, quite clearly, a very strong team. And I do believe that she backs him up and he backs her up.
Right.
So, and like I said, tone and language is everything.
But is there a
when it
difference?
was said,
Okay, but let me ask
when
you,
it was
on
said
that
to
point,
me,
is there a difference?
the key word was, are you worried?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But that to me is
And
racist.
there's a big difference.
That to me is racist.
But that's what she
It is racist.
reports.
But you have to think about how it feels on the receiving end. You have to also just take a step back. Do you know how much courage it takes to actually speak about racism, to actually call it out? Because I've been in situations where I haven't called out every single bit of racism that's happened to me based on how I've been treated or how it was handled in the past. There will be people that will treat Harry and Meghan differently because they've spoken out.
Okay.
But this is the whole thing. We've got to get comfortable talking about the uncomfortable.
So there you go. I totally forgot about that part of it. I guess I was just so fascinated with Piers Morgan setting a land speed record for a mammal on 2 feet when he jumped out of his seat and ran out of the studio after being tenderized by Alex Beresford and then completely laid bare, completely gutted and exposed by Dr. Shola. He had no other choice but to leave the studio because his usual verbal hijinks wasn't working. That little exercise that he does where he speaks over people and says, hold on. You know, he always says, hang on. That wasn't working either. He didn't get a chance to inject his nonsense. So eventually he felt the need to run out of the studio. Alex Beresford says, I wish I had the privilege to sit on the fence. In order for me to do that, I would have to strip myself of my identity, and that's not something I can do. It's not any of our places to pick apart claims of racism in order to make us feel more comfortable. So that says a lot right there. And I've heard this repeated again and again the past few days. I keep hearing people say, I haven't always spoken up when I should have. I haven't always said something when I should have, which I tell you, I'm very measured, as you guys probably have guessed. I'm very measured by how I respond to things, which is one of the reasons why the channel is still here. It's because I'm very measured. And I don't feel like that makes me better than the next person because I'm so measured, because for every time somebody holds back, you really do need someone who is going to blow a gasket and really figuratively snatch somebody up in their collar to make sure that it's understood. Somebody's got to do it. So there needs to be someone who will take a measure of a situation, and then there needs to be someone who figuratively will punch someone in the nose and ask about the circumstances that got us here later. You really need both. I think in so many situations, you really have to have both because there's a time for the measured response, and then there's a time to be more aggressive about things. So I want you to notice something else here. Do you see how Alex Beresford is literally holding his hands together as though he's praying? That's because he's being very careful about how he couch this conversation because he is a person of color in this white institution and he has to be very wary of looking too aggressive, which is why I am speaking in the voice that I am right now, because as Black people, unfortunately, that is a I guess a what's the word I'm looking for? That is a very cautionary stance that we must take in order to survive this world. Because if not, someone may call the police or misinterpret something or feel threatened. They love to say, I felt threatened. And so he's trying to downplay his Blackness. Even though he is someone who is very fair, he still has to downplay his Blackness. And looking at him with the praying hands, it reminds me of Meghan, completely vulnerable during the walkabout after the Queen died, and that what's his name, asking her for the flowers, and she literally dipped her knees because people say, oh, well, she was so upset she curtsied. No, it wasn't a curtsy. She was speaking with her body. You're holding so much in that the dipping of the knee, the hunching of the shoulders, pulling your arms in tight, that is someone who is on the brink and ready to combust, right? That is what that is. It was not a curtsy. I never thought of that as being a curtsy. But people say, oh, she was so upset that she curtsied in front of the help. No, that wasn't a curtsy. That was her speaking with her body, trying to hold it together, which is exactly what Alex Beresford is doing. There were times when he found it difficult to look directly at Pierce Morgan because when you have a Pierce Morgan and you know that they're going to try to downplay everything that you say, they're going to try to dodge any blows that you can land on the argument. They're not going to allow you the opportunity to speak. And so Alex, as I looked at the video, his whole body seemed to have been affected by this confrontation with someone he considers a friend, but still is pretending as though, or perhaps he just doesn't get racism. He doesn't have any possible way to identify with a Black experience. He doesn't want to know. He needs to believe, that is, Pierce Morgan needs to believe that he is a superior intellect. He is a superior being. And that if he's heard about it, then he knows about it. And when it counts the most, I can just pretend like it doesn't exist because people are going to believe me. After all, I'm a wealthy white man and people are going to believe me. It hurts. It really does hurt to see Alex Beresford trying to contain himself and not look too menacing for the sake of the white audience. And it's the same as with the Sharon Osbourne when she had her confrontation on the talk. You see this Black woman trying to not appear scary to the white person who is obviously being aggressive toward her. Don't you dare cry. You better not cry. She even put her finger in her face. And she's trying to downplay her emotions so not to look like the angry black woman. And people like a Sharon Osbourne, people like a Pierce Morgan, and of course, you can go on and on. They will use that against you so that you're not able to speak your truth. They will use that against you. They understand that you cannot afford to look too aggressive. You don't have that luxury. I can prance and shout and run out of the studio, and nothing I do is going to come across as too heavy. But Alex Beresford, no, he's not allowed that. Even though, even though when it comes to his appearance, that would seem to court him more favor in certain situations, he understands who he is and where he comes from. He hadn't forgotten that. There's been plenty of time when someone has reminded him, you ain't one of us. You're just not, and you never will be. Bunny Rose says, yes, that why are they so scared of black people and so racist? It's a learned behavior. It's a learned behavior. It's baked into the cake. It goes back to the justification for slavery. One of the ways to justify slavery was to use racism, to believe that your experience and your life and your civilization is superior to all, and you just play up on people's fears. And sadly, far too often, the Bible has been used as a justification. The King James Version, with its lessons of obedience, seems to have been a justification for slavery. You know, using the term the Lord, the Master, and such. Um, we have to remember that the King James Version was translated, from Latin to English during the time of King James. And so there was there was a committee, a council of people that were white, privileged, educated people that made sure that the interpretation and the wording would be used to suppress people. A rule book, if you will. What was lost in translation? That's a taboo subject, but I have to ask, was there anything lost in translation? So just something to think about. As Desmond Tutu said, when they showed up, they had a gun in one hand and a Bible in the other. He said they had the Bible and we had the land. And they told us to close our eyes and pray. And when we opened our eyes, we had the Bible and they had the land. And that is the history of colonialism encapsulated in just a few words. We had the Bible and they had the land. What's that? TV says the Bible is still being used. Look at the copyright. It's from the Brits. Yeah, exactly. That's why they call it the King James Version. And of course, the more modern, what do they call it? The Bible, the more modern English version. I would feel more comfortable if it was translated directly from the Latin than the King James. The Pierce Morgan of the world would never want to be a black man. He is aware of his white status. Absolutely. Absolutely. He celebrates it. He knows. He knows. Just like that big flim flammer, Donald Trump. Donald Trump knows what his powers are. He knows that and this is why he's not worried about these court cases. And once he has the opportunity, if he has the opportunity again to wield that power, I mean, look at how many people said he's not going to leave. He's not going to just voluntarily leave. And on election night, for the first time in history, you've had someone yell, I was robbed. That was rigged, and would not leave. I mean, there are people who left the presidency, no matter how they felt, they left for the sake of the nation. But that one time, that one president out of all these years, that one president just refused to go, refused to go. They had to talk to him like he was a child and reason with him like a child to get him to peacefully walk away. And did you guys know that the courtesy of sending a military airplane to retrieve the new president from his home state and bring him to Washington, Donald Trump refused to allow one of the several Air Force One planes to be dispatched to pick up Joe Biden. Joe Biden had to go to Washington, D.C. on a charter aircraft. They refused to allow him that courtesy. That never happened before. That has never happened before. It's a tradition that goes back, I don't know if it's 30, 40, or 50 years, but the one interruption was Donald Trump. He's never had to apologize to anyone. He's never suffered a day in his life, not one single day. He doesn't have enough sense to be offended no matter what you say to him. An absolute monster. But okay, so I hope that soundbite was helpful. And still, I almost feel a bit deflated because the people who really need to hear this the most, even if they were listening, they wouldn't hear it. Even if they were listening, they weren't hearing it. What frustrated Piers Morgan the most is just that he couldn't get another word in, that he knew he had lost the battle. And so instead of, being in the room and saying, you got a good point there, I accept what, no, he ran out the studio. He pulled this stunt. This was supposed to be a stunt. Just like the naming of the races, that was a classic Piers Morgan stunt. Just like Donald Trump, the Muslim ban, that was a stunt. One of many stunts. But there's just some people that will never, ever experience the loneliness and the isolation of being the only person of color, and in particular, to be a Black person. In certain institutions, you're the only one. And it's like some kind of sci-fi movie, like you're amongst alien creatures. And of course, that's not every situation. Fortunately, I found that quite often younger people, especially some of those kids that you would have seen marching for Gaza, marching for George Floyd, those young people that have been more enlightened, the ones that are supposedly so fragile and too in touch with their feelings, I'll take them any day of the week compared to some of this alt-right, right-wing nonsense. I take any of those kids any of the day of the week. And that's why there's a war. That's why there's cultural war against all things woke. I was thinking about that earlier today. That's why there's so much pushback to the so-called woke, to people being too in touch with their feelings, because they don't want people to think. They don't want people to think critically. They want you to just take a big ladle and swallow all of the information, all of the nonsense that they give us They don't want you to use any critical thinking. They want you to just accept what the people on television or the tabloids, they want you to accept it. They don't want you to question or think about anything. They need you to believe that a Pierce Morgan, that a Nigel Farage, that a Donald Trump, that any of those people, that they have your best interests at heart and that they alone can solve all the problems of the world. So stop thinking, um, you know, work your day-to-day job and just let us handle your conscience. Black Queen, oh, thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you for being a member of Royal Sussex as well as a moderator. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's see. That's why the American press don't go to bat for our Meghan with the black blood. If she was full white, they would be up in arms about her treatment. They close rank no matter what. Sadly, shame. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Just like the whole thing about the classy first lady. Um, no, if I try to explain to people why I feel the way I do about Melania Trump and how she treated Barack Obama with the birth certificate, the first thing that's going to happen is, well, that was just the politics. And yeah, I'm seeing a trend of racism from Donald Trump and his family. And of course, this first lady, or well, at the time, Melania Trump, the whatever she was, um, she's going to be the first lady, or possibly will be the first lady. And I'm listening to her on television, on The View, talking to, no, it wasn't The View. It was when Joy Behar had her little talk show. But he needs to show his birth certificate. But people will gaslight you and downplay that situation because they want you to not be bothered by it, to try to look at it differently. Don't believe that means that she's racist. But if it was someone who, let's say, was born or not, well, can't use that example because it's about being born in the USA, but would they have tried to tear away at the legitimacy and birthright of a white candidate? Would they have done that? Would they have spent 5 years campaigning, even before they were close to the presidency, trying to degrade and tear down the image of the first and only black president? A country where the economy was built upon slavery. You don't care how important it is to the black community to see someone that looks like us in the White House. Husband, wife, children, mother-in-law. No, you don't care about that. So long as everything goes the white way, then that doesn't matter. I am going to delegitimize this individual because that was the big target. He's the president of the United States. He's a big target. And if you can tear him down, you can get away with anything. And the sad thing is, it worked. It worked. Barack Obama showed his papers. And they said that day when Barack Obama showed people when he released his birth certificate, there were people that were in tears because it seemed too much like the slavery days, like the Jim Crow days. You're black and you better show us your papers. Donald Trump had successfully delegitimized him. And what's alarming is there were not more white people that were taking the Republicans, taking Donald Trump to task about it. People just downplayed it. Well, he did do that Muslim ban. I thought that was bonkers too. So yeah, it's the gaslighting that really hurts. The lies, the gaslighting. that really, really stings because it makes you feel as though you cannot trust certain people at that point. I've had an experience where someone was racist to me and made the mistake of showing it to another white person. You think so? Come on. Really? And so then I had to sit there and explain um, what watermelon and fried chicken was inferring. I literally had to sit there and explain that. Oh, it just wasn't a satisfactory reaction as far as I was concerned. But that happened. And it made me feel vulnerable and it made me feel small. I felt deflated by it. And that was the intention, was to remind me how vulnerable I am in the greater society. That was the whole point, was to put me in my place. I heard it loud and clear. I know what I saw. But they want you to doubt yourself. It's so important that you doubt yourself. And I think some people will gaslight because they don't want to believe that they're the same people, that they're capable of the same thing. But if you're gaslighting me, you probably are. You can and will do the same thing. Kellyanne Phillips says, I think the anti-racist whites are well aware of the power behind the races. They stay neutral and help where they can. I okay, I'll say this about that. There are just some days when you don't want to have a confrontation, whatever it's about. You just don't feel like you're up to the fight. And me as the person being affected by racism, there, just like Alex Beresford said, there were days when I should have said something and I didn't. Because some days you just don't feel like to fight. You don't want to be upset or angry that day. And yet, if you don't say anything, it just eats away at you. It could be a month later and you're still thinking, oh, I should have said something. So there's that to consider. I should have said something. If only I would have, yeah, you didn't want to make a scene or whatever. And then all of a sudden, you're talking with your body. Your shoulders are going in. Your hands are together. You're taking deep breaths. You're wiggling. You're moving because you're trying to contain anything that might look overly confrontational. Yeah, it's quite a bind. It is quite a bind to be in that position. Gwendolyn Daniels says, and the white people put black people in groups in their mind, light skin and dark. Most whites are scared of dark skinned man, especially really disgusting. Yeah. Well, listen, this is why I keep telling people I don't play the colorism game. I don't care what the circumstances. I avoid that topic because it's not helpful. It's not helpful at all. Um, I don't want to police who is and who isn't, or how black somebody is based on their skin tone or their experience growing up. When I was in high school, there was a African American young lady whose family had moved to the Midwest from New England. And she had a very, very New England accent. And they teased her about it so much. And she didn't know any other way to talk. That was just who she was. And of course, why you sound so white? Oh. And of course, if you ask some people to point to New England on the map, they would look over to Europe. Well, let me see. That's England right there. So They don't know where New England is. They don't know what a New England accent is. Well, I'm just saying the people that were making fun of her. And that is the same way that Meghan is treated sometimes because she sounds so California. She grew up in a very racially neutral situation where she was able to just go about her business. She didn't have to decide, she didn't have to she wasn't challenged like that. And the only other place where you have that experience um in Japan, in Japan, especially in rural parts of Japan, if you are mixed race, and of course, as usual, especially black and Japanese, right? If you're African and Japanese, you really have a hard time. You are bullied. You are attacked. I mean, I've heard some awful stories. Um, and the self-harm rate for people that are mixed race, Japanese and black, is extremely high in a country where that rate is already high. And from what I'm to understand, is that if you're lucky enough to go to a school where there's a huge expat community, meaning that you got people from all over the world, it's like being in heaven. And that's how I picture Megan growing up in Southern California. Is okay. I'm sure there's a lot of pain that's associated with coming from a broken home, for lack of a better word. But being racially ambiguous and living in Southern California at the time she did, then I'm sure it was pretty ideal. But as often happens, life will catch up with us when we least expect it. And, for maybe the first time in her life, she has been exposed to a lot of the racism that other Black people have experienced. But it doesn't make it any less painful. It doesn't make it any less valid. It should not be up to judgment, least of all by other Black people. Colorism is just as bad when it's coming from someone who's lighter or darker. It doesn't matter. If you're taking a deep dive into colorism because of your own personal experience, then you're really doing a disservice to someone. You're denying that they have, like, Alex Beresford, he's speaking of the pain that he felt, the concerns that he had for his child. And, there's someone who might look at this child and say, he'll be all right. And I'm sure you all right too. You can get by. And that's I think that's awful to downplay someone's pain. I really do think that's awful. But it happens. But there's a lot of people that grow up, and I don't know if I can say in the bubble, but that's the only way I can put it. You're in a certain bubble, and you don't experience those things at the same time that some other people have experienced it, but doesn't make it any less valid or any less painful. Uh, is it I Brownie? Thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you for watching Royal Sussex. So, anyway, Lauren Brown. Hey, Lauren Brown. Thank you for your take on this topic, Baron. Oh, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. But yeah, I'm glad to do it. I'm so glad to do it. Let's see. Colonizers paint this evil picture of Black people for centuries, especially from Hollywood. Therefore, all these other races and cultures imitate the hate against us, sadly. You know, Black Queen, I think sometime, I don't know why this is always lingers in my consciousness, but Theodore Roosevelt, I think it was Booker T. Washington, he invited to the White House. And there was a huge backlash for that. Now, Theodore Roosevelt was already known to be a bit racist, but even some of the most racist people can be very starstruck by famous Black people. whether it's Booker T. Washington or Nelson Mandela, doesn't matter. They get starstruck. Like for instance, Nelson Mandela going to meet the Queen, right? The Queen was more excited than anybody to meet Nelson Mandela. She was starstruck by him, starstruck by Barack Obama. And yet there's the contradiction of the Commonwealth, the former colonies, the Mau Mau uprising, and of course, there's been race riots right there in the United Kingdom, right? And no matter what the circumstances, you don't hear anything from the Queen. She who is so starstruck by Nelson Mandela, whether it's for political reasons or just plain fear. Even in the so-called modern times, the Queen didn't feel compelled to speak out about racism. Some little general speech about we breathe the same air, we all know. That's not cutting it, lady, because the people who really need to hear it are not being spoken to. They don't feel heard. And it makes a difference, which is why it bothers me so much that it is totally missed by people when you have the only Black president, right? The only Black president. And suddenly people are starting to feel more American. Black people who traditionally have felt disengaged from the American experience are starting to feel American. They're looking at the flag differently. The 4th of July is taking on a new meaning. But leave it to Donald Trump and his gang. They didn't want that. They don't want that for you. They don't want you to take ownership of this country. They don't want you to feel a part of the experience. Your position with them is strongest when you feel isolated, alienated, and less than. That is more important than you being a part of it. So while people speak about this, what was that the Queen called it? Our Commonwealth family, or whatever she said about the family of nations, that was all talk. And still to this day, it's easier to travel to the UK from a predominantly white country than a predominantly Black country. You got to jump through some hoops if you want to get there. If you want to see your Benin bronzes, you got to do a little bit more than the average person to see those bronzes, even if you come from Nigeria. And it's just always been that way. So this is why I say I have fun with the idea of monarchy, but it's not practical. I couldn't logically say that there should be a monarchy. It don't really mean much to me. It's just a curiosity, and that's it. It's nothing that I would not want to be a subject of Charles and trying to pay for my rent and food and clothing while this privileged family, I don't care how far they go back, enjoys the best of everything. And that's just the way it was meant to be. I couldn't make sense out of that. At least when you have an elected head of state, it's more like a lottery, right? It's more like a lottery. It's more like a chance, not a matter of birthright. That's the big difference. At least you know that a whole nother bloodline, a whole nother family, a whole nother generation will have that privilege. And it's not confined to just one family, one person for eternity. That's the big difference. Thank you, Black Queen. Okay. Marsha says slavery messed up the American Black race up for generations in many ways, but thank goodness for MLK, Malcolm X, Huey P. Newton, Angela Davis, Kamala Harris, and countless others of Black leaders. Yeah, I absolutely, because combined, there's a narrative there, and that is to think, to be empowered, to learn your history. Also, it gives a very impressionable child a chance to see Black excellence, well-educated Black people. Not that education is everything, but it is very important if you ever want your freedom, if you ever want justice, you got to have that basic education. Um, you can't have one without the other. It's only through ignorance do people give up their freedom. Thank you, Marshar. Let me see. Joy Amore, thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you again for being here. Greatly appreciate it. Okay, so there's this slide. Oh, what did I just do? There we go. There's this slide. Do you remember this from last December? There's Hugh Bonneville. Is that, I forgot what's her face there, and Maggie Smith. There's that civil rights leader himself, Jeremy Clarkson, and of course the other civil rights leader, a man that stands up for truth and justice and his own way, Hoghead Pierce Morgan. You know how Harry has the fly, the bee, and the wasp? Let me see. Hog, Bison. I'm going to leave Hugh Bonneville alone because I don't know what his politics are. And Maggie Smith, well, she's there, and that's not good. But yeah, they had that nice little luncheon at the at some fancy club or whatever in Mayfair. They went to some Mayfair private club for a luncheon, and I believe it was the next day that we heard from the Bison, the American buffalo. We heard from him where he mentioned Meghan being paraded through the streets and covered with excrement. I'm up all night gnashing my teeth and such. And still, like I said, there is so many people that will gaslight you and downplay how awful that was. Well, he got that from the what was that show? The Crown of Thrones, Game of Thrones. He got that from Game of Thrones. Yeah, but I tell you what, it was very artfully put together. Didn't leave a lot for the imagination. And on top of that, given how many fragile people there are in this world, not to mention just plain malicious, vindictive, cruel, sociopathic people there are in this world, do you really want to fuel people with the idea of causing harm to anybody, let alone the Duchess of Sussex? So I have to say that was deliberate. That was not just what is it he said? Oh, I've put my foot into it again, or I've put my finger in it again. He said that he was just writing. He was frustrated. He was just writing, and before he knew it, he hit sin. Now, him saying that, for the casually racist people or people that deny their racism, he was only being anti-American. He was just a little frustrated. Maybe he had something to drink at the party. Either way, no matter how you slice it, for the casual racists amongst us, that gives them the license to ignore it and downplay it and even argue against how awful it was. And that is such a feeling of betrayal when someone you think is your friend is trying to talk you down from a bad experience by trying to pretend like you got it wrong. Maybe you misunderstood. Oh, I don't believe that's happened. I don't think they meant that. It takes all the oxygen away. I promise you, when that happens, it takes all of the oxygen away. They say when there's an explosion, the flames, it eats up all the oxygen. And after you've gone through something like someone at the Pentagon said that when the plane hit the Pentagon, all the oxygen was sucked out of the room. And so there you are on the floor in the dark, dust everywhere. There's that odd silence after the event. And the first thing you notice is, I cannot breathe. I cannot breathe. That's the same feeling that I get when somebody gaslights me about racism. It's as though a plane just hit the building. I have been knocked off my feet. I find myself in the dark, on the floor, disorientated, and I just notice I cannot breathe. That's what it feels like when someone tells you, when someone tries to convince you that that's not what happened, is it? That's what it feels like. And I guess the only thing worse than that is the person who knows that that's what they're doing and they don't care that they're making you feel that way. The person who knows that they're doing that to you and they don't care. They look you right in the eye and they don't care. Doesn't matter how it makes you feel. So long as I'm winning, that's all that matters. A win is a win. Okay. Let's see. Worse is the woman editor who approved it and printed that nasty column. Okay. And let me see. It makes me want to throw up to think that the way they talk about the Duchess is allowed. So much Charles could have done. That alone is like a dagger to Prince Harry. Yeah, I think Prince Harry has really suffered a series of shocking situations where he trusted his family. He wanted to believe his family. I'm pretty sure that he was reassured that he was seeking reassurance before he asked Meghan to marry him, that he was trying to get reassurance that there won't be a Diana 2.0. Nobody is going to be isolated and alienated. There won't be any, like he said, he and his brother promised that they would never brief against each other in the press. Remember that? He said that was something that they promised, seeing the damage that was done to their mother, that they would not do that. And William did it anyway. The one thing that they had promised that they would never do was brief against each other. And I'm pretty sure that is one of the things that really caught Harry off guard, is that there was that solemn promise from his brother that they were never going to do that to each other. And his brother did it anyway. His brother briefed against him. That's the brother that left to go to Balmoral without him. That's the brother who conspired with his family to take that Flyby flight, right? All of those things. That's the brother that conspired with the bee and the fly and the wasp, with Simon Case, Jason Knopf, Christian Jones. That was his brother. That was his brother. It's not enough that the help, that the courtiers are treating you like that, but your brother, your own brother, somebody with that shared experience who knows what you've been through, turned against you, turned on you. And one of the things that, if you guys haven't had a chance to listen or read Endgame, Omid Scobie said that William went from having a shared office. I've never heard this before, Endgame. having a shared office with Harry, and the two of them were pairs. They shared a secretary, they shared an office, and they weren't, competing against each other as severely. I'm sure there was a bit of animosity from William, but I think William, after he got married, was not as concerned about Harry because he was busy starting his family and everything. So maybe a little bit of that animosity was put on hold. But Omen said that William, his face has changed, his demeanor has changed. He smiles less. He's turned into this very rigid individual that doesn't have time for anything or anybody. And Omid has been around, that situation, that the royals, enough to have seen that change. And yeah, spoiler alert, give me like 2 minutes. You can turn it off if you want to, or turn it down. But when Omid spoke about coming eye to eye with William behind the wheel of the car, Omid walking and looking at his phone, and I could just imagine Omid looking at William's face and wondering what was going to happen next. Now, he didn't say that, just to be fair. He didn't say that. But it was almost as though the way he told it, it was almost like you could believe that William may have felt like, I could just run you down right now and nothing's going to happen. This was as they, as Omid began to fall out of favor with the Kensington Palace. Omid had been on punishment for 10 months where he was denied access to certain things because of his reporting. So he's seen this change that has come over William, and I'm sure a lot of that change has to do with the company that he keeps. It's not blaming the company, not blaming his company, not blaming his courtiers, but part of that change, like for instance, Simon Case is called to fly because there's nothing too degrading and too disgusting that he won't do if he thought it would help the principal, meaning William, or whoever he works for. But we also know that Simon Case, if he ever finds his back up against the wall, he will turn on you, like he's done with Boris Johnson. So he's going to take care of himself. He'll do whatever you ask him to do, but he'll also take care of himself. And maybe that's why they're bending over backwards to save William from further humiliation from whatever truth they're concealing. Maybe that's why they're bending over backwards to make sure that they court the courtiers, that they are in good standing with Simon Jones and Jason Knopf and Simon Case and whoever else is part of it. Just like Charles just could not live without Michael Forsythe. What is it about Michael Forsythe that he's in and out of that institution? And no sooner than he leaves, than in some capacity, he comes back again. And so far, Jason is still at hand's reach. He's still there. He's still advising. Kristen Jones, I'm sure he's not too far out of orbit. They don't stray too far. Patricia Hightower, thank you so much for the super sticker, and thank you for being here tonight. Okay. So anyway, that was from last year. And then eventually, after all of that bluster, after he realized, after the truth set in, after the reality set in that I didn't get fired, I quit. I run up out of there and they're not going to take me back. I mean, he tried for about a year to get his job back. Well, why do I have to lose my job because of Princess Pinocchio? Remember that? He was very upset. And I don't think it was just the money. I think his pride was injured. He really wanted that job back because that was the biggest platform that he had had in a long time, and he did not want to blow it. And so by giving up the names of the royals the other day, that puts all eyes back on his show. I don't know that it'd ever be as big as Good Morning Britain for him, but for the time being, he is front and center in this whole thing. He's because even though they're not really talking about him right now, but he put himself front and center because he released the names. And I'm also very surprised about that too, that they're going after Omid Scobie. They're telling the Sussexes that you need to what is it? Speak out or whatever. Um, they're trying to tell the subjects that they need to speak out against Omid Scobie, but nobody is targeting Hoghead. As a matter of fact, there has been very little pushback for Piers Morgan throwing those names out there. It's almost as though someone asked him, somebody very high ranking asked him to do it. That's what I can't wrap my brain around. Who is it that instructed him to just blurt out those names like that? Whoever gave him the green light had to be the person that was in some way involved with putting the names in the Dutch version of the book in the first place. Who knows how far it goes, how high up it goes, but somebody had to tell him that was okay. I just don't think that was by chance. I don't think it was just that he decided for moral reasons, if they can buy it in the Netherlands, then the people in the United Kingdom should have access to it. If you've been knowing all this time and you haven't blurted it out before, why all of a sudden have you grown a conscience and you want the best for the British people, that you want to stand up for the British people's right to know? That couldn't be by chance. Baron Rohini wants to know if Willie Peg was out of the closet. Would he still have his hair? I don't know. Recollections may vary. I couldn't say. Whether or not we will ever know what the whole story is. And the reason why I say that is because Philip has been gone for a few years now, and nobody is telling us. The only thing that we were able to get was Philip's fondness for Penny Natchbull, right? In The Crown, even the tabloids played with it, but they won't just tell us. And the will is locked up forever, right? So we're not allowed to know. And all I'm saying is, the reason why I'm saying that is, don't be surprised if this is another one of those situations where we will never find out why William flew 1,000 miles for a pulled pork sandwich. We may never be privileged to that information. The taste for pulled pork, maybe it's just not for us to know. So we don't know if it's Rose. We don't know if it's male or female, or that it is in the first place. Maybe there's nobody. We just don't. We're not privileged to know that right now. But there are people who do know, and they're not going to tell us. They're not going to tell us, the same way they said this was common knowledge about who's asked about the baby's skin color. I'm pretty sure that that's common knowledge too. William attacking Harry, that was probably common knowledge, but yet nobody spoke about it. It's amazing how they can stay mum when it suits them. I'd like to know. But thank you so much, Black Queen. Thank you, Rohini. I'd like to know. I'd like to know what the big secret is. I don't think Philip's secret affects people the way William's secret affects people. William's secret seems to have been enough to turn against his brother, right? I don't know that Philip turned against anybody, but Willie Leake's secret is enough to turn against his brother, to set the hounds against his brother. That's a big difference. So I'd like to know. Well, and see, we don't know if that's the case, or because there's been speculation that Philip may allegedly have another family, right? So it may be more than just for one person. It might be for several people. And then, of course, we were led to believe that Andrew, the sick old man, it was like that period when they weren't connecting, right? The Queen and Philip. And then, of course, all of a sudden, here comes 2 new kids, right? So, of course, I don't want to believe that there was anything to that. But, I would say that if we were to infer anything from that, we're supposed to believe that the gameskeeper or whoever that was that the Queen was going to visit, then maybe they were breeding more than horses. That's the implication that we got. And it's so interesting how the Crown could make things so ambiguous when they choose to. And when it comes to the Fayed family, there's a certainty that Al Fayeds were responsible for Diana, were responsible for the paparazzi. That they don't leave open. That's a certainty. But whether or not Philip had another family, that is vague and ambiguous. Whether or not the Queen may have stepped out, that is vague and ambiguous, right? So when they want to be certain about things, like Diana appearing as a ghost, that is a given. But anything else, they leave it kind of wide open for your own interpretation, just to say that they approached the subject. Rohini says, before Pierce, Charles was in the firing line. I believe Camilla told him, Baron, you're saying Willie flew 1,000. Yes, for jerk chicken. For jerk chicken. 1,000 miles for jerk chicken. Let me see. Yeah, that's something. That is something I did not realize, but you're right. He's the only one that's I don't even think he has much hair loss, if any, around the crown at all. That's interesting. Huh. Well. All right. And if that is the case, then it's no wonder Philip could do what he want and go wherever he want without fear of reprisal. Yeah, there's no wonder. Rohini, you're onto something there. I thank you for that, because now you're going to have me looking upside the head of them children. Now I'm going to be looking at them. Thank you for that. Okay, interesting. And maybe that's why he acts out the way he does, because he doesn't feel like he's a part of it. Don't slander that good food dish with that insinuation, Baron. I know it might cause you to lose a taste for it, I suppose. So interesting. Okay, let's move on because it's almost 2 hours and I think I'm on slide number 10 now. Anyway, that was how things were for Pierce Morgan until he was rescued by Murdoch with that talk TV show. Palace Crisis Talks, yet another in numerous Palace Crisis Talks. They're always in crisis talks. Oh, wait a minute. What's next? Okay. One of the squaddies put this collage together. Now Harry is excluded from moon landing. Now Harry is excluded from Santa ride. Now Harry is excluded from White Lives Matter event. Now Harry is excluded from Super Bowl 20. Wait a minute. No, 20 Super Bowl. Is that 58? Oh, anyway, let me see. That's 8. What is L? What is L? That's 68, right? Anyway, and now Harry is excluded from Balenciaga fall 2024 fashion show. Oh Lord, that is too funny. But yeah, one of the squaddies put this together. And of course, you probably understand what they're saying here. L is 50. Also, it's Super Bowl 58. Thank you so much. I love Roman numerals. Oh, what was I going to? Oh, yeah. So, just in case you're not picking up what they're putting down, what they're saying here, it has to do with Harry being excluded from Christmas. Harry was excluded from a society wedding. All of those things. So they're listing some other things that Harry probably will not be welcome to attend. Okay. And I don't know who's making these, but I am enjoying it. So the photo on the left, I just threw that on them for a little extra space filled in. But the lettering and the photo on the right, that's all part of a square, for the Instagram or whatever. Racist Kate Middleton was concerned about the darkness of baby Archie's skin color and how it would look for the royal family. Somebody's been making these and posted them on the interweb. So I've been kind of collecting them just for fun, but I've been kind of collecting them because from a marketing standpoint, I think it really does say everything that they're trying to say. It is very simple, the way they have the letters in that column like that. Whoever designed that looks amazing. So, but yeah, so when I find more of those, I will share them with you. Oh, I think we have another sound bite. I think we have a few sound bites. All right. So I've seen the lady on the left before. I forgot her name. And the blonde lady, I don't know who she is. I don't know that I've ever seen her before. Hold on, I need water. Okay. I don't think I've ever seen her before. And then the lady of African descent. I've only seen her for the first time today, but she wasn't having it. Okay. I don't know what any of them, I don't know what their politics are, but she was not having it. She was not having it. So let me see here.
Christina, I think it's been really bad. I think it's
Who for?
I think it's interesting question actually. I think it's been pretty bad for everyone because it's certainly been a terrible shame for the king in particular, as he gave his huge speech at COP, which was probably the most important speech of his life, on the issue he has cared most passionately about his whole life, which he has spent 50 years promoting, or rather, the environmental causes. He has been totally single-minded and passionate in his pursuit of, kind of nature, the environment, fighting for the planet. And he gave a speech to world leaders, and all anyone could talk about was the race row. But I think it's not been great for the Sussexes either, because I think, their popularity is diminishing, and both in the US and here. And I think it's just a terrible shame. I think it just adds to the sense of a soap opera. They could have spoken out and said, you know what, this is all blown completely out of proportion. They could have tried to calm it down, and they haven't. So I think it is a big deal, actually. I don't think this is just tittle tattle. I think there's a big human story here, and then there are bigger implications for Charles as head of state.
And this story, or sort of an angle of it, is also on the front page of the Mail on Sunday. Now Harry is excluded from society wedding of the year. Anita, again, how damaging do you think this is for anyone involved?
Not very. I mean, it's clear that the Duke of Westminster, who is Hugh Grosvenor, the godfather to Harry's son, Archie, who's at the centre of all of the race row, it seems from some of the briefing, not just in the Mail, but in the Sunday Times, that it was sort of we think that this is probably not the right moment to try to bring all these different people together, because as we've seen from the myriad of front pages that are covering this, and not, for instance, Gaza, that there is a lot of attention on it, and anything that they do that brings all the royals together is only going to inflame the endless coverage about this. So I didn't feel like it actually is a snub. It feels like it's much more someone who probably knows the players involved wanting to stop this from continuing to be an endless soap opera.
Christina.
Okay. So like I said, she was having none of it. They asked her, they asked them how it will have, I guess how it's going to affect whoever. So Blondie, she said that she felt bad for the king, because he has been talking about this for 50 years, about the environment and all that kind of stuff. And all people could talk about was, this situation. Well, to be fair, there's a lot of things that Charles have given these stately speeches about, where he has shown leadership, where he has been consistent, especially about the environment. And time again, the papers would be flooded with images of Princess Diana. And as of late, time and time again, the papers are flooded with images of Kate Middleton, of Will and Kate, Kate Middleton, Will and Kate. And of course, the other thing that tends to dominate anytime the Sussexes go out for pizza, if they decide that they want to take a walk in a farmer's market, then suddenly they dominate the headlines, even above Will and Kate. So that's the pecking order. In order of importance, you have Meghan and Harry, or Harry and Meghan, depending. Let's just keep it simple and say Harry, then Meghan, and then Kate, and then William, and then Charles and Camilla. You can just put them together either way, because it doesn't really matter one or the other, because they're both so doggone boring. So he's not used to having the global stage and getting everybody's attention. So what makes this different? I don't even think that was worth mentioning. She's trying to build up sympathy for Charles, because yet again, he's been upstage. But hasn't Charles? I think a roasted tomato pizza, a sun-dried tomato pizza, could upstage Charles. I think you could you could watch some ducks cross the road, and that would upstage Charles, right? There's not too many things that won't upstage Charles. Yeah, I mean, take your pick. Anything in the news cycle is going to upstage Charles. 2 for 2 Big Macs, upstage Charles. Doesn't matter. Charles is upstaged. So I'm sure either he's used to it or he should get used to it. Haven't had a successful tour of Kenya, although we know there was problems, but for the rest of the world, it appears how it appears is all that matters to them is it was successful. Germany, France, successful. So those big things like that, he's doing okay. They're not allowing William to go overseas and do anything for the nation because they don't want a repeat of the Caribbean tour. So they don't allow him to do that. When he goes places, is either for his Earth shot or not at all. Have you noticed that? It's Earth shot or not at all. And that's probably why he went to New York to make that announcement, was because he can't connect it to anything else because the government is not going to allow him to do that. When I see Shutter Island, that gets my attention. Shutter Island is Exhibit A for Stockholm Syndrome. My word, peasant dwell in deep stupor for over 1,000 years. Sad. Don't they know how to say years? Did you notice how the blonde lady said years? They're so full of themselves. Listen.
I think it's been really bad. I think it's
Who for?
I think it's, well, interesting question, actually. I think it's been pretty bad for everyone because it's certainly been a terrible shame for the king in particular, as he gave his huge speech at COP, which was probably the most important speech of his life, on the issue he has cared most passionately about his whole life, which he has spent 50 years promoting.
50 years. He has spent 50 years. Girl, go eat a sandwich. I mean, come on. This is the most important speech of his life. That's the most important speech of his life, was going to the COP, whatever it is. And he's been talking about this for 50 years. Charles was not really given a lot of information about the environment. Charles was concerned about the amount of waste that was generated and how much plastics and such. Charles hasn't given a complete vision of how to repair the environment. Charles does not concern himself with carbon emissions. I don't know that I've ever heard him mention a carbon emission. So when people are saying that Charles was speaking about this years ago, it was very shallow speech. Now, I'm going to give him credit for approaching the subject, but you know what? I wish Charles was talking about racism 50 years ago, right? I wish he was talking about that. So yeah, Charles does things through action. His prince's trust, I'm not going to take any of that away from him. He's done good for somebody who could have sat around idly and done absolutely nothing, right? And still enjoy a fulfilled life. But he didn't. He wanted more. And so he did more with what he had to work with. I'm talking about mentally to work with. So okay, I'm gonna give him credit for that. But that is the same person who is married to Camilla, and the two of them made Diana's life a living hell. And if that's not enough, he has turned against his son in the most epic way possible, stripping him of finances and security, and saying nothing when his grandchildren are being abused, saying absolutely nothing. So, in terms of important speeches, why don't he give another speech about how Archie's been treated, how Meghan has been treated? If he wants to give an important speech, if the King of the Netherlands can offer some form of apology for slavery, then Charles can say something about having his grandchild compared to a chimpanzee. That's not asking too much, I don't think. what's making their king look bad? Is is his weak? Let me see. Prince Harry and Prince Archie should be his first priority right now. Not titles, popularity, his family, like his protected Camilla. Yeah. Well, I mean, Mary H. To be fair, Camilla is an endangered species. We haven't even identified her pedigree yet, so she's an endangered species. So, before we are dismissive, we have not even identified her bloodline. It has been very difficult to sequence her in the gene pool, so we don't even have enough DNA evidence to establish Camilla's pedigree. So I'm gonna have I'm gonna have to give you a little side eye on that one. We got to figure out what Camilla is before we could decide whether or not she needs more protection. She may be the only thing that keeps us from going extinct, right? She may be the only thing that can keep us from going extinct. It may be something unique in her blood that is a connection with an alien race, some reptilian life force that we're not aware of. So I'm going to have to give him a pass on Camilla because there might be something there. There might be something there. There might be something we could shave from some skin cells or something, and perhaps the secret to a new vaccine or medication or something. There might be something there. So I'm not ready to dismiss her just yet. But I digress. Okay, so I have another soundbite. I think this one is much shorter. Same
Raise
people.
the same kind of divisions now? Do you think we've seen that or not? Not among the family. I mean, in the country.
Yes, I think so. But I do think it's partly a generational thing, actually, because I think that the word that Meghan used in the Oprah Winfrey interview was concerns were raised about Archie's colour. And who knows whether concerns were raised or not. It sounds as if there was a conversation. Now, for my generation, to have a conversation about the colour.
Okay, you guys, I got to pause it. Here comes the gaslighting. Here comes the gaslighting. Let me start it over from the beginning.
Raise the same kind of divisions now? Do you think we've seen that or not? Not among the family. I mean, in the country.
Yes, I think so. But I do think it's partly a generational thing, actually, because I think that the word that Meghan used in the Oprah Winfrey interview was concerns were raised about Archie's colour. And who knows whether concerns were raised or not. It sounds as if there was a conversation. Now, for my generation, to have a conversation about the colour of a child in a mixed race married would be completely normal and not regarded as racist, but it may well be, and it sounds as if that has shifted. And Meghan is of a generation where it seems to me the very use of the phrase unconscious bias, which has been bandied around a lot, is that any reference to anyone's colour, whatever their culture, background, or whatever, is regarded as racist.
I do.
Okay, now that was Blondie, right? Now, Sis' turn to respond.
That's the case at all. I think there's a very big difference between people who, the context of what she was discussing in that article was a feeling that she had been treated differently to other members of the family, in part because of her race, and that she hadn't had people stuck up for her in the same way that others might have done because of her race, when coverage was about her race. So in that context, to bring up what the baby is going to look like is very, very different to the normal family dynamic. So I just don't see the parallel between what happened or what seems to have happened in this case to what might happen in any other given family.
Anita and Christina, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you.
Okay. So she said what she said. I think I got one more little part here. Let's just do this before we go.
what seems to have happened in this case to what might happen in any other given family.
Anita and Christina, we're going to.
Oh, okay. It was just that was still finishing up what she just said. So, okay. There you go. So, two opposing opinions, as you can hear, gaslighting coming from the peroxide, and you heard another truth coming from, or the truth coming from Sis. So it's endless. This is just another round of the same thing. This is just another round of it where you have someone who don't think it's exactly that way, or we weren't there, etc. And then Sis had to come along and straighten her out about it. So no movement, you guys, no movement. As I always say, it's really just theater. There's no movement. It's not going to end this. The only way this ends is if the Charles III, King Charles III, if he's going to give the greatest, most important speech of his life, now is the time to do it. Now is the time to speak up, because as nothing is going to change, the question of race is not going to go away. It is not going away. It is the original sin of the United States, that, and of course the genocide of the Native Americans. That's the original sin, was slavery, racism, and genocide. And for the United Kingdom, well, slavery and racism kind of go hand in hand, because the racism was the great justification for slavery. Is how you get uneducated young man that you have picked up from the streets and put him through a naval academy so he can learn how to sail the oceans of the world to bring commerce back to this little island in the north. Is how you do it. You can take the lowest person on the social ladder in the United Kingdom, somebody poor and barefoot, put him in a uniform, put him on a ship, and send him to Africa to pick up black people. On the way there, you're taking textiles, pottery, silver, stuff like that. You can trade for people. And you take those people to the Americas and put them on a plantation, right? Sell them to the highest bidder, put them on a plantation. And to complete the triangle, while you're in the Americas, you're picking up sugar and tobacco and corn and stuff like that. You take that back over to Europe, right? And once you unload that, you're going to load the ship again with some more goods that you're going to take right back down to Africa again. And that is the whole sordid little triangle right there. That is the Black Holocaust. Went on for over 400 years. And it made the United Kingdom the biggest nation by land mass in the history of the world. That same nation that stripped India of trillions of dollars of wealth, stripped them of their wealth, took their wealth, and gave them a little genocide too. That's the one. So when they say things like, the king's most important speech in 50 years. If the king wants to talk about something, the king really needs to address that history. I mean, he pays a little lip service here and there, but not the real conversation. Not the real conversation. Isabella, thank you so much for, that I could do better than that. Thank you so much for the new membership. Greatly appreciate it. Welcome to Royal Sussex. Anthony Kenny says, Baron, why are they talking about Prince Archie's godfather? Antoinette, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you said that, because you know what I keep forgetting to mention? And I think we're on the same page, right? You're wondering, why did they name Archie's godfather? Because didn't they say when Archie was born, wasn't it said that they were not going to name the godparents so that they would not be harassed? I thought I was the only one that remembered that. But you are so right. You are so right. Why are they mentioning Archie's godfather with everything else that's going on? Somehow, nobody has asked that question but you. So thank you so much. You get a bell for that. Why are we mentioning Archie's godfather? I thought that was supposed to be a secret. Thank you, Marshar. Oh, thank you, Bonnie Rose. I promise you, I thought that was supposed to be a secret. And when I kept hearing Archie's godfather, it's as though they wanted to make sure in their pursuit to injure Harry and Meghan and the children's security or peace of mind as much as possible, even though we know this and we didn't report on it, we're going to go ahead and let the cat out the bag. By the way, he didn't get a chance to go to Archie's godfather's society wedding. Antoinette, you really, really knocked one out the park for the team that time, because I was thinking about it earlier and I kept forgetting to say something. I didn't even make a slide for it. But I was thinking about it and then I forgot again. But yes, thank you so much. I thought that was supposed to be a secret. Oh no, like in the cartoons, huh? How they do the eyes in the cartoon with the toothpicks. Black Queen says Britain said they were the first to abolish slavery, but they forgot to mention that the slave owners on the plantation in the U.S. were British descendant. By the way, Jamaica got our independence in 1862. Was it Jamaica or was it actually Haiti that were the first to abolish slavery? I think it was Haiti that was actually the first, because of the rebellion against France. Of course, part of that was abolishing slavery. So I want to say Haiti was first. I think that idea that the UK was first is misrepresenting the actual timetable. They love to say it, but I don't think so. They may have been first among European nations, but they were not the first. They were not the first. I think what was 1838? And when was the rebellion in Haiti? So yeah, I think it was actually Haiti. Oh, no, yeah. Did I say? I thought I said 18. It's 1962. Yeah. Thank you so much. 1962. Yeah, I was sitting here wondering. I said, did I say 1862? Thank you. Marjorie Austin says, yes, Haiti was first. Haiti was first, and Haiti has been punished by the Western industrialized great white Satan fathers ever since. They have been roundly punished for their struggle for independence. And what's so sad about that is that the Haitians thought that the United States would applaud their struggle for independence, seeing that, the United States fought for independence from Great Britain, but instead the United States sided with France, its oldest ally. They sided with France and financially punished and sanctioned and did everything they could to keep Haiti poor, the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere. That's a little bit of American history that they don't teach us in school. Is how the United States, that is supposed to be the protector of the Western Hemisphere, has done everything they could to keep everybody south of the border as poor as possible. Okay. All right. So let us move on here. King and Kate in race row. Palace fury as pair named at center of storm after Dutch translation, that is, era. And oh, so they are calling it an era. The Mirror is calling it an era. Put a pin in that one because that may be important later, that they're willing to call it an error rather than say that Omid Scobie and Meghan and Harry conspired to leak the name. They know Meghan ain't had nothing to do with that. At certain junctures in our lives, we must assert our beliefs and take a stand for what we hold true. Say no to racism. That's another one of those things that are making its way around the interweb. Is this photo of Kate and say no to racism? I like that too. The way it's very stylized and everything. The red on stamp on top of the black background. Very cool. um, I think Dan Wooten's got that covered. Actually, I'm going to just assume Dan Wooten has that covered. Uh, yeah, yeah. Dan Wooten has got all that covered, I believe. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Let me see. There's James Middleton with his marshmallow company that somehow decided it was a good idea to print marshmallows with swastikas on it. How did that happen? And then, of course, if you take a look on the right side there, you can see that someone decided that Kate would fit in perfectly with some of those Melania Trump Christmas decorations. Melania Trump decided for Christmas one year that she would, actually, not one year, she did that every year. At Christmas time, she actually filled the White House with these very stark, bland, minimalist Christmas decorations. And well, when you hear the word stark and bland, who's the first person you think of? Stark and bland. Yes, that's right. Kate Middleton, stark and bland. So she would fit in perfectly there for Christmas. Anyway, Merry Christmas to the deplorable derangers and crown critters. That's another one of those slides that someone made on the Twitter. I cannot take any responsibility for it, but as you can see, there are some very clever squatties out there. And of course, this is the Sussex's response, as far as I'm seeing it. This is their response to everything that's going on right now, where Charles and Kate find themselves in the hot seat and everybody is figuring out who they really are. Of course, if the Sussexes were to react in the way that I thought they might, this, I think, is probably how they would react. Like, what? What? Oh no. So there you go. Now, as we were mentioning earlier, breaking rank, right? Palace officials reportedly offered up stories on other royals to squash Prince William's affair rumors. Now, this is coming from, let me see, that's covered there. Let me see here. Oh yeah, that is coming from Daily News. The Daily News. Yeah, okay, yeah, the Daily News. Is that one of the British newspapers, the Daily News? Or no, is that from the US? Where does the Daily News come from? The Daily News. Oh yeah, it's from New York. Yeah, Daily News is from New York. Uh-huh. Daily News, e-newspaper, national news. Yeah, it's a New York newspaper. And I don't know if it's owned by Murdoch or not, but they're out of the great state of New York, or the city of New York. So they are talking about it. And then someone mentioned earlier Us Magazine. So you have Us Magazine. Us Magazine, they don't care anyway. Us Magazine gonna talk about whatever. They don't have as much deference for the royals. Let's see here. But yeah, so you have a little bit of people breaking ranks. I wanted to share the article, but there was a paywall and I couldn't get past it without a subscription. So that meant I wasn't so interested. Now, one thing that I have noticed is that since Kate has been wearing all this big hair, she is starting to remind me of Crepella from the Ghoulies. The Ghoulies are the fictitious neighbors that live next door to the Flintstones. At a time when the Monsters and the Addams Family was popular on television, on the Flintstones, they introduced the Ghoulies. And of course, Kate Middleton is starting to remind me of the Ghoulie Mama, whatever her name was. Yeah, she's starting to remind me of the Ghoulies. See what I mean? All that hair, and she is serving up Ghoulies. Interesting, huh? Oh boy, I got to get another chair. I mean, this chair is okay, but it's making too much noise. I'm going to see if I can tighten up the screws on it, because every time I lift the pinky, the chair is just, yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to have to do something about this chair. But it's lasts longer than I thought it would. I thought this chair was, I got it from Costco. I thought it was going to be like, really cheap and gone in months, but it's been well over a year and it's still going strong. So, yes, anyway, she reminds me of the Ghoulies. Yeah, after a while, they get like that, don't they? They start crying and screaming out. Let me see. How laughable is that to say that, say to racism is coming to a very person who made the Duchess' life a living hell. She's going to get her comeuppance, though. Yeah, I think right now, because she's a bundle of nerves. She hates to speak in public. They are going to have to try to find some black children for her to take photos with. That shouldn't be too hard, but yeah, expect to see her surrounded by black people the next time you see her. Uh-huh. Okay. Well, I'm going to be looking forward to some backlash, some public backlash. So again, what is her name? Civil Ghoulie? No, the Ghoulies, the Goonies, not Ghoulies, Goonies, the Goonies. But yeah, she looked like the mama from the Goonies, the Flintstone Goonies. Or is it the Ghoulies? I think it's the Ghoulies. Let me see. Yeah. The gruesome, not the okay, it's the gruesome family. Yeah, it's the gruesome family, not the Ghoulies, the gruesome family. The Gruesomes are the monster. Inspired by previous Hanna-Barbera monster family, Mr. and Mrs. J. No, not that one. Anyway. And of course, you can see how skinny she is. So I'm telling you, if they ever want to cast the movie, if it's not necessary for her to have a personality, they can put Kate in that role. Okay, so Team Sussex are full of hate for our elegant Princess of Wales. You all, Camilla Tominey strikes again. Enters Camilla Tominey. Camilla Tominey and her poison pen has wrote yet another scathing article involving the Duchess of Sussex, and of course, always to a lesser extent, the Duke of Sussex. She says, in Endgame, his second hagiography of Harry and Meghan, author Omid Scobie variously describe the Princess of Wales as, should that be viciously? Oh well. Ferociously. I'm sorry. Omid Scobie ferociously describes the Princess of Wales as cold, keen, and inscrutable. There you go. Cold, keen, and inscrutable. Damning the princess with faint praise, he writes, comfortable in her role, willing to bring the requisite smile and elegance to her duties as princess, Kate glides under the radar. Okay, what did he get wrong? He refers to the incident when he saw Kate in fits of giggles and suggests the future queen should reveal more of herself. I always thought this more frank, real side of the sometimes Stepford-like royal wife as something that others should see more of, right? While I agree the princess should be heard as well as seen, where has oversharing ever got the royals? I guess that's Camilla Tominey's take on it. Both the king and Diana and late Princess of Wales bitterly regretted pouring their hearts out on prime time. Harry and Meghan have been forced to roll back some of their more outrageous claims they made in their Oprah Winfrey interview, which has since become a parody of itself. Their repeated outpouring, this is Camilla Tominey now, their repeated outpourings have only served to diminish them in the eyes of cringing global public. The South Park episode featuring a young royal couple who moved to a small town search of privacy while simultaneously constantly drawing attention to themselves said it all. So yeah, I'm not going to finish the rest of this. You know how Camilla Tominey is. But yeah, as I said earlier, there's this need to defend Kate Middleton at all costs. Kate cannot be made responsible for anything. She's only worthy of praise, and she should be applauded for simple things like flipping a pancake. Omid Scobie, I think, was very fair to Kate Middleton. I really do. I thought Omid was more than fair to Kate Middleton. Instead of him praising her for doing nothing, he just said that Kate Middleton, that there's something behind that veneer and that he's seen glimpses of it. And he felt as though she should be able to express herself more. He spoke about her being terrified of public speaking and such. But when she's with children and engaging in those small groups and stuff, she tends to follow the lead of other people. She's not a leader. She's not capable of leading a group, but that's why she has to sit at those tables because it gives her a chance to respond to whatever lead is given. But in terms of her addressing a function or being in a leadership capacity, she's not ever going to do that. That's just not her strong suit. She's better off following people. And Omid Scobie pointed it out because they're so busy trying to turn her into corporate Kate or Kate corporate CEO and all that kind of stuff. That's not who she is. Kate is good at laughing and giggling and smiling and doing all that hand jazzing and posing and stuff. That is what she's good at. She's good at being seen. She's not the person to lead a group. She's not very verbal. She's not successful at being verbal. Her strong suit is sitting there nodding and reacting. So I'm being a little more shady than what Omid Scobie was. Omid Scobie threw some praise in there. I'm not going to do anything of the sort. But that's her strong suit. It's just reacting like a good soap opera star. Her strongest action is reacting, right? That's the strongest thing she could do is react. So if she wasn't with the royal family, she could be on Days of Our Lives and just be someone that reacts, that throws a look. Not good at a monologue, but good at reacting. Tash Max says, Camilla Tominey is full of crap when she is pushing for Kate to be heard more. Anyone who has heard her knows that Kate should not speak to small or large groups. Even Will cringes when Kate speaks. Well, now you guys, I do think that if we're going to take that path, that it is important that out of the spirit of fair play, that we go to Kensington Palace. We look to them for comment because there's another side to every story. Kensington Palace.
Obviously, it'd be. I would love to have met her, and she's obviously she's an inspirational woman to look up to. Obviously, to this day, and going forward and things. It is. It's a wonderful family. The members who I've met have achieved a lot, and very inspirational. So, yeah, I do.
Now, after taking elocution lessons, Kate was able to sound a lot posher than ever before, and also she was able to exercise more presence. Okay, so here's an example of the new Kate Middleton.
I've had the most inspiring morning with the Anna Freud Centre discussing all things mental health. It is so important that we all talk about our feelings and emotions, the good ones and the more difficult ones too, because we all have them. The theme for this year's Mental Health Week is anxiety, and the Anna Freud Centre have co-created an animation and resource toolkit to help young people understand, normalise and manage their feelings around anxiety. It is a fantastic resource and one which I'm sure we could all use to help support our mental health.
Okay, so I I don't know why she wasting her hands trying to play the piano. I think they need to get her a set of drums. I really do think they should get her a set of drums, because the way them hands are going, flailing about, if not some drums, then get her some bongos or some type of skins to play, because I think she's missing out on her gift. She ought to be playing the bongos. Yes, the little drummer princess. Now, as for Camilla Tominey, thank you, Camilla Tominey. Thank you for confirming that royal racist Kate Middleton's concerns about Meghan's skin, a kid's skin tone was innocent. Knew you'd actually do your job one day. And so right here, you can see part of that column. Conversely, it is precisely because Kate is not a brash blabbermouth that she remains so endearingly popular. Like the late Queen, she is a reluctant royal. She she is a reluctant royal. She who dreamed of going to school in Edinburgh, who switched schools after her gap year so that she could go to St. Andrews so that she can throw herself at William. That is the person who is a reluctant royal. She said that, you guys. Camilla Tominey called Kate a reluctant royal. She's an introvert. She's a conflict avoider. A reluctant royal and a conflict avoider. She keeps calm and carries on. She's very English. Oh, that's code right there. Did you guys hear that dog whistle? She's very English, which perhaps goes a long way to explaining why she didn't get on with an uninhibited, overconfident American. That's code for she's very white, and that's probably why she didn't get on with someone from the ghetto, black woman. That's what that really means. That's code. That's dog whistle all day long. It's very clever writing. It is very cleverly worded. The only thing that I've ever seen that is more clever than this, of course, is recollections may vary. And a few other ones like that. But yeah, that is code. That is a dog whistle. She's very English, uninhibited, overconfident American, brash blabbermouth. That means angry black woman. That means loud, obnoxious black woman. And as you can see, the person who posted this actually underlined brash blabbermouth. She's very English and uninhibited, overconfident American. You see? That's why they don't want people to think. That is why they don't want critical thinking. That is why they don't want to educate people about racism, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Or should I say, once you understand it, because a lot of people see it and they're in denial or they just lie. But once you see it, you cannot unsee it once you know what it is. So, Camilla Tominey, who obviously either bought herself a new skirt and some new boots or both, that's what she had to say. The other thing I want to point out to you guys, I told you she had a big head, didn't I? You didn't understand what I meant when I told you that that chick had the biggest head that I've ever seen on a woman. But that chick has a big head. There's so much space between her hairline and her chin, and an absorbent amount of space. So she who tells lies said that Kate is a reluctant, I don't know why they didn't underline that, a reluctant royal. See how she just makes stuff up? You see how easily She just makes up stuff. Now take a look here. Biden has greatly diminished America's role in the world. Britain doesn't need him. Under Sleepy Joe, which of course is what the right wing here says about Joe Biden, Camilla Tominey called him Sleepy Joe. Watch a new world order appear to be busily capitalizing on his ineptitude. And as you can see, the person who retweeted that said, "This delusional heifer, hun, you all haven't been a world power since World War One." I told you, anytime you see somebody call somebody a heifer, lean in on that one because it's going to be good. Am I lying? If somebody uses heifer, you know it's going to be good. So he said, "This delusional heifer, hun, you all haven't been a world power since World War One." I told you, whenever you see heifer, lean in because it's going to be good. And that's exactly what it was. Did he get her together? I mean, he put her right in her place. All it took was a word. Another big lie. The more Meghan Markle speaks, the less anyone wants to listen. Her new Spotify podcast, Archetypes, epitomizes the law of diminishing returns. And yet, Archetypes dethroned Joe Rogan, won an award. What was it? She won 2 awards, right? Anyway, she dethroned Joe Rogan and won the People's Choice Award. So, yeah, I would say that would be a failure then, right? I mean, after all, Joe Rogan was number 1 for 3 consecutive years. And then along comes Meghan in her first foray into the podcasting world. And it was number 1 in more countries than I could remember, including the United Kingdom. Yeah. Okay. And then, of course, if you strip away the glam squad, if you remove the lashes and the spackle and all the other heavy war paint, if you take away the hairdresser and all those things, strip bare, that is the real Camilla Tominey. And there's some more Karens over there on the left side. There's Camilla and what is her name? Hortensia with that plaid on. I forgot her name. Oh, Petronella. And of course, there's Megyn Kelly. No, Megyn. What? Yeah, it is Megyn Kelly, right? And Angela Levin and Scamantha, Kate, that Schofield chick. I don't know who that other person is in the corner there. Oh, I think are we closing toward the end here? Let me see. Oh, yeah, we just got 3 slides to go. Congratulations to Queen Latifah, Barry Gibb, Renee Fleming, Billy Crystal, Dionne Warwick. Let's see. Yeah, were recognized for their achievement in the performing arts during the 46th annual Kennedy Center Honor. So yeah, those are the new honorees right there. And long overdue, might I add. Although I have to say Queen Latifah seems rather young for the honor, but she has been in the business for a while. And I think she is there to represent hip hop. So maybe there's a deliberate attempt to represent hip hop in the safest way possible. So there you go. This is the new group. And did you guys notice Dionne Warwick's shoes? Take a look at Ma got her house shoes on. Dionne Warwick got on her house shoes. She got her slippers on. She ain't taking no chances. Yeah, that's our Dionne Warwick. Dionne say, my feet hurt. All them years I was standing up there talking about the what was that she used to do? The with the tarot cards or the astrology network, whatever it was, all them years of that astrology network, she was standing up there too long. And don't forget Solid Gold when she was hosting Solid Gold. So she deserves to relax and put her house shoes on. Y'all leave her alone now. She done paid her dues. And yeah, and that it matches the dress is extraordinary. Yes, she is so tiny. When she was wearing those long, elegant gowns, it seemed like she was much taller and statuesque, right? Okay, Camilla Tominey, the journalist who broke the fake story on Meghan making Kate cry, is confronted over her story, and it seems like she just doesn't get it. Well, she's a good liar. When she's confronted, she's very good at, um, I guess, escaping persecution. She always finds some way to get out of it and justify it. She's very good at that. And this is the last one. This was posted. I forget who posted this now. Anyway, I think it was Roy Anika did a retweet of this. Newman's View. But I've already got his wedding present. uh, I'm trying to think if that's supposed to be from a gift from King Charles or something like that. But I've already got his wedding present. So I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I honestly don't understand what the joke is there, but I don't get it. But yeah, so that's it. I was hoping you guys could tell me. Yeah, and that's it. Wasn't Dionne Warwick on the Rockford Files? She did some acting back in the day, right? She was on the Rockford Files. She was Isaac Kay's old lady or whatever. But yes, thank you guys. Thank you all so much for your very generous and thoughtful contributions. Thank you, Crotchin Chicken Hidden Egg and Black Queen. Thank you, One Brownie, I Brownie. Wonder what that means. Joy Amore, Patricia Hightower, and Black Queen featuring Rohini. And Isabella, thank you so much for the membership. Very kind of you. And let's see, no Cash App, no PayPal, none of that. Nope. Okay. So thank you all so much. Thank you for being here. Didn't know that it was going to go about 3 hours, but well, we had a very deep conversation, I think. And it has been very helpful and thought-provoking as usual. So I'm happy for it. As always. Let's see here. Oh, you guys, it's already the end of the year. And, well, let me see here. Okay, it looks shady, like they are saying Prince Harry was given copies of Spare as a wedding gift, but is now not invited to the wedding. Huh. Okay. Okay, now I thought, and I don't know if that's supposed to be Meghan or not, but I thought that perhaps they meant that the harassment and mistreatment and treachery from the royal family was enough to fill volumes of books, and that was supposed to be like a very negative, nasty gift or something like that. I don't know. I didn't really get it. Maybe in the context of that article. No, the article is about migrants. Don't know. Don't know. Well, yeah, it's got to have something to do with the wedding, right? Oh, okay. Good night, Joy Amore. I don't know what it means. Tell me, because I don't get it. Oh, well. That one went over my head. Already got his wedding present? Oh, meaning, that he's not going to the wedding. But and so Harry is sitting up there, um, surrounded by his book spare, right? And I guess Meghan must have broke the bad news that you're not invited. And he said, but I already. Oh, he was going to give him copies of spare for the wedding. Okay, I got it now. I got it. Thank you. Oh yeah, Marshar. I forgot about Rush Limbaugh. Of all people, Rush Limbaugh. That really taints it, doesn't it? That taints the whole thing. Well, one thing's for sure, Marshar. Rush Limbaugh will never return to the Kennedy Center to sit amongst the alumni. He won't be invited to that. We won't have to worry about turning on the television and seeing Rush Limbaugh sitting up there with the rest of them, will we? Yeah, Rush Limbaugh is not invited to the Kennedy Center ever again. As a matter of fact, Rush Limbaugh would find it difficult to go anyplace these days. So don't have to worry about that. Yeah, so the wedding gift for the oh, by the way, the guy that got married, in case you guys don't know him, that guy owns a huge portion of central London, meaning that he has billions. He's he's the male heir to his family's fortune. His father died suddenly, right? And when his father died, he inherited that huge fortune. Now, he was 16 years old, and I think he was at boarding school. And next thing you know, he gets the phone call or whatever. Um, Guess what? You're a billionaire. I mean, your father's passed away tragically. So next thing you know, this kid is sitting on top of a mountain of money. He finished school, and if I recall, he felt a bit guilty that his sisters didn't get a lot out of it, and that he found some kind of way to share more of his gift with his sisters, because, you know, that primogeniture, that is a good thing to keep the estate intact, but it means that the other um, parts of the family just ain't gonna get as much. So he wanted to make sure that his sisters were well taken care of. His sisters are older than he is, but because he was the male, he inherited everything. Really? I didn't know. Really? He's dead? I didn't realize that. Oh my goodness. Why is my voice so high? Oh no. No, Carmen. No, not Rush Limbaugh. Or as I used to call him, Rush Windbag. Not Rush Windbag. Oh no. Well, I'm pretty sure he's looking up at us right now and wishing that the very best for the new winners of the Kennedy Center honor. Oh no. I'm so upset. Such a loyal patriotic American. Oh no. Oh well. That's oh, I'm so upset. I'm not going to be able to sleep. Oh. Well, thanks for telling me, Carmen. Ooh, thanks for telling me. Or should I say, thanks for allowing me to say it out loud again. Oh, well, that's a shockaroo. Oh, man. So, let me see. How do you spell that? The Duke of Grosvenor? The Duke of Grosvenor? Grosvenor. Okay. Grosvenor. Okay. So, yes, the seventh Duke of Grosvenor. Hugh Grosvenor, how old is he now? Because I remember when he was a teenager. Is he even 30 yet? He's 32 years old. He was born in 1991. Okay. Now, his father, of course, was the sixth Duke. Let's get to his father, shall we? Because I want to talk about him. I just want to get to the part where he died. Okay, the Duke died August 9th, 2016. The at Royal Preston Hospital in Preston, Lancashire, after suffering a heart attack at the Abbastey estate. A private funeral attended by close relatives was held on the 12th of August, and a memorial service was held at Chester Cathedral on the 28th of November. He was buried in the family plot at St. Mary's Church, Eggleston. The Grosvenor family stood to pay very little, if any, inheritance tax. Did you hear that? Very little, if any, inheritance tax on his £9 billion fortune, led to calls for review of how inheritance of trust funds and similar assets are handled in the UK. So that family, at the time of his death, was worth $9 billion. And they paid little, if any, tax. Let me see. His father was, how old was he when he died? Oh, let me see here. Oh, okay. I'm looking in the wrong place. He was born in 1951 and died in 2016. So what was he? Was he 65? Yeah, that would make him 65, right? Anyway, wow. Ranked as the second richest person in the United Kingdom. At the time, he was ranked as the second wealthiest person in the United Kingdom. His fortune of 3.2 billion, approximately 8.47 billion in today's value, with only Queen Elizabeth above him. Born in Northern Ireland, Grosvenor moved from an island in the middle of Lower Low to be educated in Sunnydale and Harrow. Okay, so here's the other thing I want to share with you. The Grosvenor family first developed is Mayfair, central London, in the early 18th century. The second big development came around 100 years later and was in another exclusive part of London, Belgravia. Developed by family after end of Napoleonic War, the conversion of Buckingham Palace, which is just 1 mile east. After developing the two parts of central London, the family business expanded. During the second half of the 20th century, the business expanded into the Americas and developed, Annapolis Islands and Vancouver. Let's see, both the British Columbia and the west of Canada in the 1950s, the family business started developing in Australia in the 1960s and moved to Asia. Now, see, I didn't know they had all that interest around the world. The Duke was also director of Claridge House Hotel from 1981 to 1993. This is the father, of course. Oh, he was in the military, benevolent work for service personnel, education, sporting interests. Now, that's how I learned about them, is that I know he just dropped dead one day, and that young kid inherited all that money, making him one of the wealthiest, most eligible bachelors. I'm sorry, I don't have a picture of him, but yeah, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. The United States Embassy in London, the old embassy was built on land that was owned by that family. And because they were leasing the land, the US government wanted to buy it from the Grosvenors, and they told them no. They said, you don't want to pay for what we would ask for, plus it's not for sale. So that's one of the ways I heard about them, is because I knew that they owned a huge part of central London. And of course, given the way real estate is, you know they rich. So $9 billion, and they paid little, if any, tax on it, any inheritance tax. That's amazing. And that's one reason why they're so wealthy, is because if you had to own land, instead of owning land in some shire somewhere, you would definitely rather have land in the city, because people build on your land, but you still own the property. They own the building, you own the land. So they're paying tax. They're paying a leasing fee to the Grosvenor family. They are excessively wealthy. See how animated I get when I'm talking about inheritance? Oh, man. So he's 32 years old. That means when his father died in 2016, he must have been 24, 26. And there's not that many dukes in the peerage. There's only a handful of dukes. There's earls and marquise and all that kind of stuff, but there are fewer dukes than any of those other titles. So, and if the eldest male, if the male line dies out and there's nobody to inherit, then that dukedom also dies. And that title goes back to the crown. They have a global reach in 62 international cities, offices in 14 cities. I'm telling you, they are a big multi-conglomerate. And that kid, in 32 years old, owns all of that. Wow. They call it the Grosvenor Group. Belgravia, Mayfair. Oh, rich, rich, rich. Super rich. And his sister, Lady Edwina, I guess he's only got one sister, huh? I guess he's only got one sister. Well, anyway, this is the guy that's getting married. I'd be curious to know who he's going to marry. Oh, you won't believe where he was educated. He was raised at Eton Hall in Cheshire, the Grosvenor family seat, with his three sisters, Lady Tamara, Lady Edwina, and Lady Viola. They attended a local public primary school. Afterwards, the Duke attended a small private Moyson House school, followed by Ellesmere College in Shropshire, He later studied at Newcastle University, graduating with a bachelor's in science degree in countryside management. Oh, so that way he'll know how to keep an eye on his estate. Well, his father died kind of young. The Duke's closest friend, the Duke is close friends of Prince William and Prince Harry. He is godfather. It says here on the Wikipedia, he is godfather to Prince George of Wales. Oh, but it doesn't mention Archie. You guys, I wonder if they're lying about that. It doesn't say that he's Archie's godfather here. In April 2023, the Duke's engagement to Olivia Grace Henson was announced. Olivia attended Marlborough College alongside Princess Eugenie and is great-great-granddaughter of Lucy Geraldine Mariana Hervey, granddaughter of Frederick Hervey, whatever, and the second Marquis of Bristol. The couple are set to be married on June 7th, 2024. Well, I guess they must have moved the date up, huh? Because it said here, June 7th, 2024. Oh, maybe they did move it up. Is that when the wedding is planned? Oh, something's weird. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm not even looking at the chat. I was looking at Wikipedia. I hope I didn't miss anything important. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Adrian Burrow. So if the wedding is the 24th of June and they're talking about it right now, I thought the wedding was next week or something. TB, even what's that monster's name? Lady C said that there's no way that they're going to be stripped of their titles. Even Lady C said that. So what are the chances? What are the chances? Let me see. Lady C, Harry and Meghan's titles. You know, there was a time when I was more bothered by that, but now I'm just kind of like, whatever. Whatever. Well, I don't see a short video for it, so. Oh, maybe if I put Lady C instead of Katie C, maybe that would help. I put Katie C. Okay, Lady C. Yeah, still I don't see anything. Wow, just doing that search right there and all kind of hate channels pop up. Including Lady C. Okay, good night, you guys. 1,373 people. Good night. We are done. Get your rest on or start your day for you guys in Europe and Africa and Australia and New Zealand and such. Go ahead and get your days started. I don't want to hold you here. I'm just sitting here fooling around. Still in the mood for a little shade and gossip. You know how that is. Oh, man. Let me see here. Hey, Church Nelly. Look like somebody's taking a little pee break. Hey, Church Nelly. I hope everything comes out okay. But yeah, you're right. They're just trying to get under Harry's skin. Yeah, it said there the wedding isn't until the 4th of June. So you mean to tell me y'all gonna, well, let me stop because you know they will. From now until the 4th of June, they're going to be talking about Harry's not going to the wedding. Wow. Too bad he lost his father, but my goodness, 32 years old and a billionaire. A billionaire, over and over and over billionaire. My goodness. My goodness. Let me stop thinking about that. There's more to life than being a billionaire. I mean, he doesn't have the love and support of his father anymore, and that is tragic. But 9 billion flipping dollars? Are you kidding me? I wonder what happened when the accountants told him, "Sir, it appears that the estate is worth some 9 billion pounds." Who had that conversation? As Oprah would say, who's having that conversation? Let me see here. Church Nelly says, oh, wait, why is that not working? Let me see. Oh, that's because I'm on the wrong screen. Okay. Well, I mean, Church Nelly, you know, as we get older, we go more frequently. So I just assumed that you looked at your phone on your way. Looked at your phone on the way to the litter box and just decided to check in on us. Yeah. I don't think it really matters whether Harry was invited or not invited. It's not really, because the thing is, the Queen did not go to weddings unless they were like really important. She didn't go to most of the christenings. She didn't bother with that stuff. And so she's right there in the country. Harry lives on the other side of the world. And if he chooses not to go, especially considering how much work he has, I don't think it's a big deal. It would overshadow, even if the rest of the royal family were not attending, it would cause a circus for the bride and groom, and that would not be fair. So it may very well be that Harry offered to not go. I mean, they're very rich. If they want to keep it a private affair, they could. But, you know, there's also that possibility that it might be overshadowed with the Sussexes there. I mean, let's face it, they are the most influential royal family in the world. I mean, well, yeah, royal family in the world, royal couple in the world. So there's a lot that comes with that. Thank you. Harry has a business to run, so not everybody just packs up and go to another country for a wedding. I don't care how rich you are, but he's got priorities over here, so I don't think it's a big deal. Let me see, Baron. He has been training to take over the estate since he was quite young, so he was not surprised. Yeah, but his father just had a heart attack, and you know, I don't think he was expecting to lose his father that soon. No, but yeah, he probably knew that they were pretty wealthy, but losing his father so young. That had to really hurt. Yeah. Well, I wish him the best. And like I said, from what I hear, he made sure his sisters were well taken care of. Hugh Richard Louis Grosvenor, now one of the wealthiest men in Britain. The only thing better than having a lot of money is being young and having a lot of money. That way, when you're driving your muscle car, well, not muscle car, but your like your Lotus or your Lamborghini, you don't look so ridiculous. I think older men kind of look silly when they're driving those cars. Oh, okay. I'm taking a look at the whole family here, his sisters and everything. Oh, interesting. Otherwise, they look like a pretty typical family. Yeah, they look like a pretty typical family. Wow, he was 25 years old with a $9 billion fortune. Oh, okay. I think this is what I was looking for. Of course, Hugh really needs a stalwart northern woman around 20 years his senior from Cumbria, who could acquaint him with the Northwest England culture by taking him to Liverpool, one shopping center, which he now owns. I think this is supposed to be a little satire. Oh, so he owns a shopping center. The sad passing of the sixth Duke of Westminster will be bittersweet news to husband hunters across the world, now spying the fresh-faced, unmarried seventh Duke of Westminster. This article is from 2016, by the way. Hugh Grosvenor, as a fabulous prospect. It helps that Hugh is doe-eyed, clear-skinned, outdoorsy, and by all accounts, a decent type. He helps more than Hugh this week. Inheritance around them. Let me see. I'm trying to see. Oh, God. I just saw the name Carol Middleton pop up. Hugh, let's be honest, could resemble Groot from the Guardians of the Galaxy. And let's see, in the dance old times, I still have women willing to elbow each other under the combined harvester in order to marry one of the gilded brood. I like to imagine Carol Middleton, mother of Pippa, spent a good proportion of 9 August screaming into a mirror over his oversight. Oh, I wonder if they're trying to say that Carol Middleton was trying to get him batched up with one of her kids. Silly Carol, allowing Pips to become engaged to a chump from Maid and Chelsea brother when his prime social climbing branch was out to come available. Okay. I was trying to see if there was something here about his sisters, but I don't see anything. Oh, well. Well, oh, there's a picture of his father standing next to Queen Elizabeth. Oh, apparently his father was very close to the Queen. Interesting. Okay, you guys. That's a little homework for you if you want to look into Hugh Grosvenor and the Grosvenor family and see how phenomenally wealthy they are. feel free to do so. Well, I'm going to get going. Thank you again. Our last word for the day is he's rich. No, that's so crass. Let me think of something else. Let me find something to close out with. Oh, I shared a video earlier today. Maybe I'll share that with you right now. Let me grab that video. It was fun making it, and maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't, but here goes. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot I had turned the sound down where I made some odd, weird noises. Connie Balmer! Hey, Connie Balmer, how long have you been here? Or did I just not notice you? No, I think you just got here, right? Hey, Connie Balmer. Oh, no worries. No worries. I have Ricola, cowbell, and chocolate so that I don't have to feel so bad. So I appreciate it. That'll have to keep me company until you finally get here. Okay. Let me see. Jamie, who inherited Blenheim Palace, was found to be unfit due to previous drug use. He is a figurehead who has to ask to and run ideas past trust established by his late father. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. You know, I went to Blenheim. Blenheim is like, how do I put it? The interior is not that great. You know, I think they kind of ran out of money, if I recall the story. They kind of ran out of money after having built so much of it. And so the interior is not amazing. It's just big. And I'm sure there's a lot of interesting art. And the chapel is really nice. They have their own chapel there, but in terms of decor, the house is kind of eh. But the grounds, the park, and everything surrounding is beautiful. Still worth visiting, I would say. The one part of the house that I skipped was the bedroom where they said Winston Churchill was born. Number one, I don't believe he was born in that room. I think that's just something they tell the tourists. It's on the ground floor, and it didn't seem all that impressive. So I'm kind of thinking that's probably not the case. Yes, we need more cowbell. I've already moved my cowbell to the souvenir shelf. Yeah, it's next to my Rohini drummer. Oh, well, that's our last word. Everyone, please stay safe, pray, and don't peg and hydrate. So thank you, Cookies and Cream. Well, with that, you guys, I'm going to go. Thank you all so much for being here, and I appreciate it. It's been fun, interesting as usual. I've learned a lot. I hope you have too. Thank you, moderators, for keeping it a safe space. Thank you, Lord, for getting Church Nelly to the toilet on time, in time. Let's see what else. I think that's it. Oh, the queens, our queens. Let's see, where are our queens? There we go. Good night to our queens, Doria and Diana. Doria, the very rock of the Sussex family, and the very heart and spirit, Diana. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. Love you guys. See you tomorrow. And let's close with Once Upon a Time. Shall we?